And then long term. Long term is obviously up, but the intermediate trend is down. And then the short term trend probably back up now. If we look on a 30-minute maybe. Okay. So see if did Apple have a bottoming tail? Yeah. All right. So, well, it had a dragonfly, but it actually didn't bottom. It actually went even lower, right? So this was your bottoming tail here. And then what happened? We went all the way down to 118, boop, pop. But it hit the top of the intermediate trend and it's going back down. But right here again, you're at the top of this is like a big downward pressure, this trend line right here. And if you want to see, that's kind of your channel right there that you're bouncing around through. So Apple's actually not looking very good right now. It'll probably go back up to the top of the channel because these things are directional. Once they travel, they bounce up and down until they break up or down on the channel. You do have a chance of Apple breaking here, but right now there's no play here right now because it's at 121, and where's the top of the channel? 122, so that's like $1, right? So generally, though, the way you would want to play this is when it comes all the way. Boy, I can't get this to center right. When it comes all the way back down here. So if it were to go to like 113, 114. Now, what I see Apple going on the longer term chart is this white line. Okay. That's what I'm seeing right here is really your buy. This is the level you want to buy. Yeah, it's very weak. It's not, it could break this, right? And if it does break this, it could go all the way back up. But I don't really see that happening. I don't see it breaking this intermediate downtrend right now. I don't. I see it hitting here and then stalling. In fact, this is what I'm seeing for a lot of NASDAQ/tech right now is these types of channels. There's this huge downward pressure. Like, let's look at Amazon real quick. Because Amazon's similar, but I don't see a current play in Apple right now. Amazon's got a much better setup right now. Let me show you the Amazon on the longer term chart. So this is the long term chart. Well, that's a month. Let's look at it on a week. All right, so this is on a weekly basis. Amazon's been trading in this consolidation. You see how it's going up and down for a period of time now. It's either going to break lower or it's going to break higher. Now on the short-term time frame, the intermediate trend is now up, but the longer term, or I'm sorry, the intermediate trend is this line right here, and the short-term, the very short-term trend is currently up. This is the short-term channel right here. This is what I saw yesterday. I saw Amazon hit the top of this, and this is why I said most likely it'll gap down today. And sure enough, what happened? Gap down. Right? Just to the bottom of the channel, though. And this is what you want to see. You want to see it bounce nicely off of this channel, right? But this is also why I say Amazon's a really good play right now. Why? Because there's no resistance, right? You've got no resistance till this gold line. There's nothing to keep I mean, you've got a little bit right here. You've got a little bit right here. That's 31.52. And it dropped today, right? I think you and I were buying these calls around 30.50. So we're gonna make some nice money because even right here. But what I'm expecting next week is a big push up. You might even see a big gap next week, starting off the week right up to here, and then all the way up to the gold line. That's where I would exit the current Amazon play. Sounds like my laundry's done. You also got a inverse head and shoulder, right? Shoulder, head, shoulder, and the big thing is this shoulder higher than this shoulder? Well, let's look. Sure is, right? That's the point. So you've got a shoulder that's tilted up, which is what you want to see on an inverse head and shoulder. I think Amazon's gonna pop back up into here, potentially 32. If you're like me, the way I like to structure trades around these is I buy a couple options, okay? And then I sell at different levels. So my first sell level, I bought 3 options or 4 options because Amazon options are very expensive, right? I bought 3 or 4 options today around here, the 30.50, and now the first time I'll sell them is when 31.48, right? Right around this level when we hit this. because you could get a bounce off of this back down into here. All right, but then I'll sell the first part, and then I'll close the remainder of the position at the gold line. All right, and that's a pretty hefty. You know, if we go up to that line, I think I'm up $11,000 on that trade. So that's a good trade, right? This is a very high probability trade. You've got a really nice chart set up with this inverse head and shoulder. You've got everything set the way you want it to be set on a trade like this. And you're buying in the long-term direction, right? Which is the long-term trend on Amazon is what? It's up. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry, John. Sorry to hear you didn't get your Amazon trade in today. So if you guys are, it looks like we got a couple people. If anybody wants to know some stocks or you guys want some technical analysis, just post the tickers that you want me to look at and we can go over it. Otherwise, I will just keep talking. So here's a trade that we're all doing right now, Palantir. This is a trade I think is really going to set to pop. So if you look on this on the longer term, whoops, long. Look on a weekly chart frame. Let's look on a 3-day. Palantir doesn't have a day of work then. All right, so this is the day chart. So I want to kind of go, why do I buy in the money calls? Because it maximizes, I don't always buy in the money calls. A lot of times I buy out the money calls or whatever. But in the money calls maximize your dollar for dollar gain at a certain point. And it's complex. That's a good question. I don't always buy in the money calls. I buy a mix. So, like if we look at the Amazon, I bought both in the money and out the money. The in the money, usually my initial position's in the money because there's the time decay, right? You know what time decay is? Theta decay. I try to minimize that unless you're buying so far out the money call. It just depends. It depends on the stability of the stock, right? If I know Amazon is not going to go below 3,000, for example, I would buy a in the money call around that level because that's essentially all that value is built into the price of the call. But if I'm just trying to you get more bang for your buck when you're close to in the money like that because it's a dollar for dollar move. And a good example of this is Palantir. If we look at Palantir, I've got a pretty hefty position in here. I think for every dollar that Palantir moves, I gain $4,000. So, but if you look, I've got several different types of options on Palantir, and this is how I like to do my positions. I like to spread them around. Now, the longer term option, the more in the money I go because I treat it as, do you know what synthetic stock is? If you're buying leaps, it's better to treat them as synthetic stock. Yeah, so let's say Palantir goes to 45 a share. I make $78,000. That's a good trade. That's a very good trade. So this is where Palantir is going, though, short term, in my opinion, according to the charts. First, I want to go over the previous price history. So last year, what you saw Palantir doing was forming a symmetrical wedge. And symmetrical wedges are really, really good continuation patterns. Bitcoin, for example. Well, I'll explain synthetic positions then here in a sec. Bitcoin, for example, it took 2 years for it to form a symmetrical wedge, and then look what happened to Bitcoin. It exploded this year. So Palantir did the same thing, and you see it forming around this $25, $26, $27 price point, and it explodes up to 45 and drops back down. Now what you have is what's known as a descending triangle. All right, Palantir is forming a base at the same level that it broke out from last time. It's forming a base around 25-ish, I'd say. And you've got a really big bottoming tail right here. You see this bottoming tail? When you see a tail like this, it's safe to pile in. It's usually safe to just pile in at that point. Fundamentals, you don't even have to worry about fundamentals changing until the next earnings call. Which ironically, if you look at when this triangle is set to complete, it's around earnings. So I would keep my long position, my long-term options on here, but I've also got short-term options that are taking advantage of this channel. So this is your pennant right here, or your descending triangle, right? And what happens is the stock price is going to travel within here until a catalyst causes it to break up or down, right? And the catalyst just so happens to be earnings here. So this pennant is essentially set up for this earnings call. But in the meantime, you can play this stock on a swing trade up and down, right? So it's at the bottom of the channel, and you've got this huge bottoming tail, and now it's going to travel all the way up to the top of that channel. You can call it a hammer. Yeah, there's a lot of names for that stuff. You can call it a hammer. A hammer, technically, it's not a hammer. A hammer is where this body is at the very top or the very bottom, an inverted hammer. Technically, this is a dragonfly. You would call this a dragonfly, or you could call it a super bottoming tail. It's more important to understand why this exists, why this does what it does. What this represents is more important. And it doesn't matter that this is red or green. This could be red or green. That makes no difference. What this actually represents, though, is that the price opens for the day all the way up here, and it drops all the way down, and then during that same day of trading, it comes all the way back up, all right? That suggests that there is a powerful buy movement around this price zone, and it probably will not retest down here again. It tested this price, right? The price dropped, and when it did, what happened? The buyers came so fast and hard that it drove the price all the way back up that same day. Okay, that's what you need to understand about this type of a tail. It's a bottoming tail. That's why they call it that. That means it's not gonna retest. Why? Because there was so much buy pressure. As soon as it dropped this low, there was so much buy pressure that it shot right back up. Okay, so it's not going to test that back down that low again. And that's why it's usually safe to pile in after a bottoming tail, which is what I was telling you guys. Just everybody buy, right? So what you're seeing now, though, this is a classic. Normally this candle's red and this one's green, but this setup on the day chart is a classic bullish engulfing, okay? And if we zoom in, well, let me do it on the 15-minute. I'll show you why. So on the first day, the price came up, and this is a really nice setup right here. It looks like it's about to pop over the gold line, right? Well, gap down, and then the buyers, immediately this gap down was filled all the way right back up to the top. That suggests very strong buying pressure, okay? And now that pressure for 2 days has been building around this breakout line. That's what we'll call this, the 26.9 breakout line. This is going to pop. It's already started to, right? You can see up here, after hours, this thing's over 27, right? Come Monday, this thing will be $28, $29. If we look at previous price action, generally when Palantir pops, it pops a couple dollars, okay? So there's a lot of people saying, oh, this stock's not going to be up here up to the $45 or the $30 range for a long time. No. I can pretty much assure you by next week, Palantir is going to be up in this range. And this is the other thing, gaps. Market makers hate gaps like this. So this gap is going to fill sooner rather than later, okay? And we've already had all this over the last 2 weeks down pressure. So now that we're traveling back up, it's very, very likely that this gap fills in the next week or two, okay? I would expect a big pop on the day chart. This is your 50-day moving average, right? On the day chart, I would expect almost a gap over this on Monday. That would be my general expectation on Palantir. I would expect a big movement. You've got a huge bullish engulfing over the last 2 days, right? You've also got a pennant formation on volume, and this is what you're going to see a lot of these too. Anytime that you get a big spike in volume outside this pennant line right here, it's going to be a big move. So I'm expecting some big moves in Palantir, which is why I'm leveraged so heavily on this. Like I've got, how many options do I have on this? I've got leaps and I've got 31, 46. I got like 46 options on this right now. And I'm going to sell all of my options around. I'll sell the first set of them around 30 most likely, and I'll sell the second set. If it travels all the way up to the top of the channel, but probably somewhere in this range, I'll close out this position. I'll keep the leaps because the whole point of the leaps, right, is to long term. Yeah. This is where I see it. But in the longer term time frame, no, Nate, I don't think Nate knows anything about fib extensions and retracements. On the longer term time frame, though, Palantir is range bound. It's gonna trade up and down and up and down and down, and then earnings will either drop her low or boost her high. Now, obviously, if you have leaps, you can just hold those through, but I would never play a position into earnings because earnings have a tendency to be wild cards. You never know how a stock's gonna go, generally. Unless you have inside information, which if you do, send me an email. Okay. So what other questions you guys got? What else you want to see? You want to see one I found? This is the one I've been buying right now. Fulgent. I got a position on these guys. So the gold line on these represents the long-term trend line, which is this is a great stock in my opinion to be playing on options right now. It's got really high growth potential. Look at this fib extension that I drew on this. Because this thing hit 190 almost, it's got it. If it breaks out, it's gonna pop all the way up to here, like 126. I didn't get too many. I've only got 3 options because they're like $700 each. But let's say it goes up there. That's a $4,000. Like, okay, I'll do VR next. I'll write them down. We'll just do them as they come in. So that'll make those 3 options just for it to go up here. And let me show you on the channel on this thing. 2 hour. Let's do it. Here we go. So this is the channel that I'm seeing. Whoops. This is your channel right here. And look where today you had all day you could have bought at the bottom of this short-term uptrend, right? And this is a huge swing in price. This thing's gonna, so this is why I bought into this one. Apparently there's a huge buzz on Seeking Alpha for this. My only huge concern with this is that there is a shoulder, head, shoulder, but this is kind of a sloppy shoulder with the break. So we'll see. Generally I don't buy. The neckline's pretty straight though, so sometimes they don't actually complete at the neck straight. Generally you want for a drop you want the shoulders to be that for it to drop. I don't think it is, because, and the other reason why is because of the bottoming tails that you're seeing. That's a bottoming tail, right? I think this thing's gonna pop a lot more. Look at this earnings. I've done the research behind this one, the due diligence on this. This thing's, I mean, the majority of their revenue came from the corona testing, but these guys actually have a very solid business, and they have a very solid CEO who's well known long term. All right, let's do another one. What do you got? VLDR. Velodyne. All right, Velodyne. So I have no experience with this. The first thing I always do is look at a longer term chart to see what I'm dealing with here. Okay. Let's draw a fib extension. So what's a fib extension? John was just asking Nate, what's a fib extension? A fib extension tells you when a stock is about to break out potential price points, resistance and support. So the way you plot these is with a previous low, previous high, and then the next previous low. So it'll make more sense once you see it. See, the problem I have, John, is that if this thing went really high, right, which is good, this is what you want for a potential breakout stock, but then it went really, really low again too. And there is some good volume coming in. The RSI looks all right. Let's look at it on a day chart now. Because of that real weird range bound, it doesn't have a lot of room. The very first level is only $16 for the breakout. All right. So you've got a gap down. It looks like earnings were bad. That's not. I was going to say, this isn't necessarily, if this, but it looks, I don't know, I'd have to look more into this, but it's actually showing a profit, which is good. And the PE on this is like what? With those earnings times 4 in a year at its current price is like 15 maybe, PE of 15. That's actually a value, almost a value investment. So again, short-term channel on this. This is what I do with all these stocks. There's 3 trends, right? Long-term, intermediate, short-term. Long-term, you look at the month. Oh, you can look at the week. The week will work. What's the long-term on this? Remove this. Long-term trend on Velodyne. Up. It's at the very bottom of it, right? At the very bottom of the regression, okay? That's the long-term. We'll make that one green. All right, so what's the short term, or the intermediate trend is the secondary trend. You generally find this on the day charts, or you can look if you need to get in a little bit. Intermediate trend down, right? That's the intermediate trend is down right now. And then the very short term, let's look on the 30. This channel I will draw myself because I can see it. So that's where you're going right now. You've got your downtrend is this bigger overarching. Make the down purple. The intermediate trend will make purple. Okay. Do you see what happened here? Even though the short-term trend's up, do you see how it caught the top of the intermediate downtrend and it just kept it down the whole time? Yeah. Well, I'm glad. 3 trends. And remember, the longer the trend, the more it takes precedence. So even though the short term was up, as soon as it caught the intermediate down, look what happened. It traded right along that downtrend, top of that line. Now, it can pop out of this. You know, right here's a good example. See how it popped out? But generally, these things will keep it, and what will happen over time is this trend will right itself and turn more upright. Do I think this is a good trade? Probably not, no. I don't think. Again, though, what are you dealing with? You're also dealing with the long-term trend, which is even though the intermediate's pressing it down, then you get support coming from the longer-term time frame pressing it back up. So you've got this could pop. You could pop this back up out of here because the longer-term trend is what matters. Generally, though, when you're entering trades, this isn't a good stock to trade, in my opinion. I don't see a play here on this because there's no way to know where it's going. You've got too many conflicting trends right now. And that's not a bottoming tail. That's a regular bottoming tail. I mean, this stock's so oversold. I don't see. Look at the RSI on this thing. You could buy right now. There's no harm in buying a stock like this. I mean, you can buy right now. Look at the RSI on the day chart. Generally, don't worry about the RSI unless it's on a day or a week chart. But look at the RSI, man. This thing is really, really oversold. Honestly, beat earnings. I don't know why it's collapsing. You're gonna have some snapping out of this intermediate downtrend. It's gonna be, well, you may have already busted it. Yeah. Okay. There's your downtrend line right there, your intermediate downtrend line. Now what I want you to see is where did you break this downtrend, right? Right here. And you see how much volume came in there? That's a typical trend busting move right there. You broke so the intermediate downtrend's gone. It's broken, okay? Now you're setting a new trend, which is now up. I would buy. This is a buy. This is a buy right now. In fact, I might put this on my list. This is a buy. You broke the intermediate downtrend. You've got the long term, which is up, and you've got the short term. So the short term and the long term are up, and they've aligned themselves, and it's literally at the bottom of the channel on both of these. So there's really the only position for this thing to go at this point is up. Really, this is you could trade this right now. I might actually add to this. And what else do you see on here, John? You got a gap, right? This is where I would set your trade to, just like all these other trades we're doing, right? This is going to be your first target right here, this gap. That's going to want to fill. You can make those gold. I always make my target lines gold because if it hits them, I make money. They're worth their weight in gold. So that's kind of what I would set. So what's that at? And you've got 1386. So now you want to know what kind of trade you want to do on these. What kind of time frame are we looking at? On the day chart, you're probably looking at, if you extend this to the right, got here 319. And the other thing too is that this could move a lot faster, but longest term you're looking at 325. So 2 weeks. So just to buy yourself safe, give yourself double that amount of time, 30 days, right? And you want to know which one's to buy. you're trading this to 1723 to be safe, which is what you probably should do. Because that's, and really, you know, why are we trading to this gap? Well, that's your resistance. You don't, because of this drop was so quick and steep, you have no support or resistance levels all the way up. So literally this thing is just going to trade all the way up here. That's the beauty of playing down drops. Once they do finally bounce and you get this bottoming tail, that's how we made all that money in Tesla this week, right? You made 10,000 and I made 15,000 on the Tesla. It was the same deal. There's no resistance because the drop is so steep that there's nothing to stop this from immediately just coming right back up, right? There's no volume was traded at any of these levels. So volume was traded at this level, which is where the gap was. See that generally over here. See how this it trades right around this level. Resistance right around this level. That's your level right there. But you got nothing all the way back up to here. It might take a few days. So the trade on this is what I would do. If you want to know which ones to buy, line all three up. Find out which is going to get you the most bang for your buck. If it goes to where you want it to go, which is 17. So $255 going to 17 makes you 236. 255. So essentially you'll double your money. You buy the 15 call and it goes to 17. You'll a little bit more than double your money. And if you buy the 17.5 call and it goes to 17, you will, the pink line represents 128 for 90. So for every $90 you invest, you'll make 130. Obviously, out the money call are better to buy. The issue is because it's a short-term swing trade. If you buy out the money, it's all theta. It's all time decay, which means that the value of each call is going to decrease much quicker than if you buy something closer to the 12.5. That's really all that means right there. Basically, if you think the move is going to happen quicker, buy it really far out the money calls. If you think the move might take some time to complete, buy more in the money calls. That's kind of how you decide what you're buying, right? Does that make sense? All right. If you guys are new, if people are just joining us, looks like we got a few more people watching right now, and you guys want me to show you some analysis of some stocks, go ahead and just post them in the thing. Who's got another stock for me? So VLDR, Velodyne, I would probably buy the 12s to be safe. I might actually set this play up. This is a nice little play here. 255. So for every 255 bucks up to 17, you make another 244. Yeah, it's essentially a double up. And it's a short-term play. So you know, you put $1,000 into something like this, and if it hits, you make another 1,000. If it doesn't, even if it just goes halfway, you make a little bit of money. And you're in and out really quick. But generally, you want to play this play all the way up here. You could even sell out the first level if you want to be real safe. Be the top of this bar, which is $16. So you buy the 12.5 and you get out at 16 and you make $150. So about 80% on your money. It's a pretty good trade. And I think it's a relatively safe trade. Why? Because you've got a bottoming tail right here. Generally, when you have a bottoming tail, you're buying at the bottom. All right. You want to see the Tesla trade? So everyone, where's Tesla going? Well, I don't know. Tesla's the one stock I'm not optimistic about right now. I was optimistic because I saw this huge bottoming tail right off of our long-term trend line. John and I bought in, we played this all day on Monday or Tuesday and made a fortune. We watched this thing go straight up, all the way up to the top of the line. But now this is acting like downward pressure on the stock, right? It's keeping it kind of in check. This is why, for the very same reason why I like Amazon. Amazon has not gone all the way back up. Amazon's got meat left on that bone. So this is why I'm long right now Amazon. I'm going to play Amazon up to around, I'll probably sell around this. Probably about 3,200. But for Tesla, I have no position because I'm not going to gamble on whether it's going to break this white line. Too many times it doesn't break these things. There's no favorable play here. Even though you've got a bottoming tail, it's already exploded off of that. It could come right back down. Tesla's got a lot of downward pressure coming. All right, give me a new stock. Give me a stock. Who's got a stock for me? Don't make me pick. Don't make me pick. We can do SDGR. You want to do that one? Schrodinger. So the long-term line on Schrodinger is this. What really interests me about this is that this thing dropped obviously because of earnings, but apparently its core fundamental business isn't hurt at all. And this, because of the way the growth of this thing, the momentum of this stock, it's got a lot of room up to run. So the trade I have on this right now, I'm going to probably buy more of these on Monday once the rest of this money I've got settles and I have it available for options. Oh yeah, we'll do Tilray too. I'm sure a lot of people want to know where the weed stocks are going. So I'm going to add more to the Schrodinger calls, because Schrodinger's going to go most likely, at least it'll at least half fill this gap. You'll at least have this go halfway up. And how do I know? Because gaps, once they start to fill, this was the end of the gap right here. Do you see how this is over the point here? That means that this gap has started to fill. Once a gap starts to fill, nothing to stop it. So this gap is going to at least half fill, which means it's at least going to go to, this is where a safe trade here. And look, if you look on the day, the 50-day moving average is up here around 93. That's probably where this is going to go very, very shortly. All the way up to it'll do at least do a half. It may not fill the whole gap right now, but it doesn't need to. So the trade here is from 81 to 93. If you look, 81 to 93, for every $260, I mean, you essentially are tripling your money at that point. So that's a very good, lucrative, profitable trade. The only issue is that Schrodinger has a very limited options. All right, let's do Tilray. Let's talk about weed. All right, first, right out of the gate, you got a bottoming tail here. That's a good sign, right? About a ton of this? Okay. So, I like Tilray because we bought Tilray earlier this year. I think I got in. I got 100 shares at 11. Then I bought a few more around, I want to say somewhere in here, around 22. And I put in a sell order because we mapped out that fib extension. I literally sold half of my position. I got out at 65 on the nose, and it was in my IRA too, which was hilarious. I'm sure the people at Wells Fargo were scratching their heads. That was a really, I think I made like $14,000 on this play. Is Tilray going higher? I think so. I think it's setting up again here. You're right. You know, at some point, the fact that this company makes no money is gonna matter, but right now it doesn't. There's a lot of, hopes and dreams. That's what these things are based on, right? At some point, the fact that this company doesn't make money is gonna matter, but right now that doesn't matter. Long-term trend's up. I think you can see where the intermediate trend is, right? Intermediate trend is down. And then the short-term trend is, again, this is your new channel. Now, what you really want to do, look at this on like a 1 hour. Let's look at it on 1 hour. Map out I'm not going to take this huge bar. I'll take the first high point. I'll map out the intermediate downtrend because I want to see where Tilray broke out of this, if it did break out of this. I'm going to connect the highs, right? You can see right here. Even if you're being generous with your intermediate downtrend line, boom. You see all that volume come in? That snaps the intermediate downtrend. This is really important. So this is why I keep saying that I think the market's going to pop big next week. All of these intermediate downtrends have been broken on good volume, okay? So even though they look like they're still going down, they're not. Once they're snapped, it's out of this trend line. It's out of this channel, right? It's not going back in this channel. So now a new channel is going to be created, and the one that's being created currently is in that direction, going to the moon. But it doesn't just do it nice and it goes pop, 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 pop. Yeah, Tilray's looking good. I would be long Tilray right now. Out of its intermediate downtrend, got a bottoming tail. A bottoming tail right there, and then ever since that bottoming tail, it's been up. Right now, your only overhead resistance is this. It's gonna bust through that. I think it's gonna go Where's it going? I don't know. I can map that out. You want to know where it's going to go? Where it's going to break out to next? Oh, man. All right, so this is really what you're looking at on the probably enter now at 27, get out at 33 to be safe. Looking at 33.58. Nothing to stop it from going there. Let's look at the candles just to see. I see it. What happened today? Did it gap at all? Gaps are important too a lot of times. Oh yeah, gap down. Gap down and bought right back up. So what is that, John? If it gaps down and it breaks right back up, a bullish, not engulfing. Just setting up a pennant. It's just setting up a base, a consolidation base right now. Today's candle seem weak. You're micromanaging this stock on a short-term time frame, which is silly. This is why I tell you guys, don't look at these short-term time frames. Look at the longer term, the day charts and the 4-hour charts. These are what take precedence. These are what matter. Stock can't go up forever. This is just what's really important about these big bars is when they do their sell phase. So they have an up phase and they have a sell phase, right? If they don't go down to 50% of the bar, that's very, very, very bullish. Okay, so it went down. Did it go below 50% of the bar? No. It's a very bullish sign. That means it's going to consolidate probably a pennant. If we were to look at this on a short-term time frame, it probably looks like a triangle. Sure does, right? Like look, John, you see it happening here. Up, down, 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 up, down, down, down. What do you think's coming next? Up, down, down, down. That's up, down, down, down. That's how Tilray moves, right? The fact that it didn't even go down to halfway on this is pretty good sign, I would say. Yeah, just don't, I wouldn't look at these on the short-term time frame. They're not, that's really meaningless. That's how you screw yourself out of good trades here. Let me see if I can see another pattern here. Shoulder, head. Shoulder's higher, right? So here's your right shoulder. See the gray line? The second shoulder is, I was going to draw a line across these two shoulders here. And I'm looking at the body of the candles, not the tail. The bodies are all way up here. You see how there's this little space here? That means this shoulder is higher than this is, you guys are asking me about individual stocks right now. But what you're seeing across the market is all of these look the exact same. What does that tell you? You literally could buy anything right now and it's going to go up because this rally is, I don't think you're going to be able to stop this rally. I don't think you're going to be able to stop this rally. Oh. All right. I don't think it matters what you buy, to be honest. I mean, sure, some things are going to do, some things like Palantir are probably going to pop a little bit better than others. But I think right now, I don't think it matters what you buy. I think everything is setting, like everything has got the same, reverse head and shoulder setup. Really, here's another one, right? Do you see how every stock I'm looking at looks almost the same? It's all going to do the same thing. It's all going the same direction right now, at least on the NASDAQ, which is going to go, you've still got your overhead. Let's make this the white line since white is devil nowadays. This is your intermediate downtrend, right? Everything is going to pop over the next week up to this downtrend. Now, this is where everybody's going to make the mistake. The noobs in the stock market that don't know what they're doing are going to make the mistake. So next week, when everything skyrockets because of the stimulus rally, it's all going to go to the top of this white channel, right? It doesn't matter what stock you pick because they're all looking like this. Palantir. Yeah, they do look the same. They look exactly the same. And everything's going to go up to these lines next week, I think. There's no reason to stop. You know, we're looking at the short-term trends on all of these. Do you see where the direction they are? They're all going to go up to these white lines. Now, next week around Thursday or Friday or even Tuesday, by the time we hit this uptrend line, everybody's going to think that this sell-off's over. You know, all the beginning traders and everything. They think, and they're going to leverage all the money they just made really hard. And what's going to happen? This is going to happen. We're going to hit this white line. We're going to come crashing right back down. Everybody that put their stim money in is going to lose it, except for people that are watching me. You're going to know that's when you get out at the top of that white line. There's no mystery to plotting these things. You just need to know what you're doing. I've been doing this a long time, and I've seen this over and over and over again. Way up, pop, down. And that's the thing. The bear market's over. Everybody pile in, put all your stimulus money in, down. That'll be, when we hit these white lines, that'll be the point where I am 100% cash. Now, let's say on really good volume, we get through these white lines. As soon as we get through these white lines, that's what I call confirmation that the bear market correction is over. But until we go through these white lines, we are technically still in a correction, okay? Nate, if you're not swing trading, just hold it long term. We're talking about swing trading right now, which is speculative. This is like 10% of your portfolio is for this type of trading. The rest of it, you should just buy and hold long term. Counter, you can just buy and hold long term. Unless you want to swing trade it, which is take your money out and then put that money somewhere else on another short-term trade. Yeah. What was I going to look at? Like, if you've got money and think, like, look at Altria. Look at Altria. Look at this thing, man. It's just green for days. This is on the 3-day. Look, how many days has this thing been just straight up? Unreal. This is what when we were buying this back in at what, 44? I think one of my employees, Carlton, I bought him a whole bunch in his IRA. I got him a ton of Altria around here, 44-ish. Made like 12% already. Look at this thing. This is what you're seeing right now is these dividend pairs. This is another one I got a lot of which is O's been going straight up. Everyone's cycling out of growth, and these things aren't in downtrends. These are not in O's been straight chop, but yeah. Dude, that's the only thing that's in a downtrend is the NASDAQ. Growth stocks, right? Now, on the futures, we actually broke. You see, this is the we actually did on the futures bust. Which is also why I'm saying that the market's going to skyrocket come Monday, right? Odds are the market's going up big. Look at this tail right here. That is huge. That's a super dragonfly right there. Did bust this, didn't we? We busted this downtrend here. We didn't do it on good volume though, which means we could drop right back into it. But the other thing that bothers me about this little correction we got. Let me map this out real quick. Need more data points. I can't believe the market's just gone straight up for some. Level there. Level there. I mean, realistically, the market hasn't even begun to start correcting. This is why everyone's saying the NASDAQ's going a lot. It's topping tail, topping tail. I mean, this is just a spinning top. This just represents indices, or long-legged doji, which is typically just a continuation pattern. You got topping tail, long-legged doji, continuation. This is on the monthly, though. I mean, I don't think. I think dark times are ahead for the NASDAQ. I do. Long term. I think there's some dark times. Why? Because I think this thing's going to come back down to this line. Yeah, let's look at the NDX. That's a good point. Sometimes I don't like the I mean, this is a parabolic rise, man. You're looking at this thing coming all the way back. This is insane. Somehow the Federal Reserve thinks this is healthy. This is normal. That's what the Federal Reserve right now. This is normal and sustainable. No. Sorry. Topping tail, bottoming tail. A crash market's what that is. You guys think Joe Biden's just going to keep handing over money the next 4 years? They're going to have to deal with hyperinflation at some point. This is why. So y'all understand why you need to be long Bitcoin. You need to be long Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a hedging against this nonsense. Look, you got this huge gap up here. Shoulder, the second one, you're forming your second shoulder here, and it's a higher shoulder than your first one, which is what you want, right? Not by much, but the shoulders are slanted up. Sure, this will pop. What's it going to do? It's going to do exactly what I said it's going to do. It's going to pop. The NASDAQ probably next week will pop and fill this gap. As soon as it does, get the hell out. Okay? Get the hell out of the market. Because once this gap's filled, or maybe even this one up here, I don't think you're going to make new highs. I don't. Once these gaps are filled, look out below, and you don't got really resistance till about here. This is what I said, right? 11,000 right around here. Look at all these gaps. These are going to need to fill. We haven't even begun to start this drop, I don't think. We've only just begun to sell. We're so overextended. This is insane. Whatever. It's free money until it isn't. I tell you what, when that drop starts, I won't have a dime in this market. I can promise you. My long-term stuff. Well, I'll have stuff. Like, look, the S&P looks great. It's just the NASDAQ. It's just the NASDAQ. The S&P looks fine. Maybe not like on the super. Let's look. It doesn't look as bad. It's not. The S&P is going to correct too, but it's not going to be like the NASDAQ's correction. The S&P is just going to have, it's just at the top of, that's your channel right there. The S&P is just at the top of the channel. Okay, it'll come back down 33. It could lose a chunk, but it doesn't look anywhere near as bad as the NASDAQ looks really, really bad, guys. It makes me almost not want to buy any stock that's in the NASDAQ because this looks so awful. I mean, this is insane. Insane. We're going to get another rally, though. We're going to get another stem rally next week. NASDAQ's going back up. Fill that gap. I'm going to get the hell out. Looks bad. S&P doesn't look as bad. I'm not a big fan of shorting those things. And you'll see if you've ever swung trade an actual crash like 08 or whatever, dude, you can lose a fortune shorting a market during a crash. You'll have a 20% day down, and then a 30% day up, and then a 40% day down. Like it's not like, it sounds good in theory, right? Oh yeah, short it, but you're going to be watching it. Every spike back up is going to send you psychologically. It's going to send you running. It's going to say you're going to be closing out position. I'm not a fan of shorting for that reason. In fact, that was the one terrible trade I made this week, was that TQQ shorting this. Lost a couple $1,000 quickly. I'm not a fan of shorting, period. It's better to just, what's up, Gerald BT? I'm not a fan of shorting, period. All right, what else you got for me? We've only just begun to live. Gerald BT, my Summoner's War days. I need a good video game to play again. There's nothing. Technically, we're out of the short intermediate downtrend. Technically. It'll be a nice little ride. We should be able to make a bunch of money next week. I think these trades, you know, Palantir is almost a guarantee, I think, at this point. So with this setup, I don't think you're gonna. I don't see how this doesn't do anything but go up from here. A lot of buy. Look, it's already over 27 aftermarket. Yeah. All right. What else? Let me look over here. Oh, we can check out Bitcoin. I want to actually look at Bitcoin. I mean, in swing trading, this is a buy point. When you make a new high or you're at the level equal to the previous high, that's when you go pile in. That's when the breakout happens. 70,000, right? Oh, SIRC, that's a good one. That's a good one to look at, right? Oh, so it did complete. Look, Dragonfly, back up. No catalyst and very poor volume, though. So this was the one I looked at a while ago. What did I say? I said it was going to go down to this line. And look what it did. Look, I drew these lines. Remember when I looked at this one last time? I think it was around here, right? I drew these lines and I said, well, I wouldn't buy it till it goes to this line. Sure enough, it went right to this line. That's where I would have bought it. So it literally did exactly what I said it was going to do. And now, what does it look like it's forming? A inverse head and shoulders. Right? You got shoulder, head, higher shoulder. Sure is, right? Bodies are right there. I use this gray line. That's, you look at the body, not the tails. Okay, so the lowest body is, you can look up here, it'll tell you. Lowest body is 1.09. Lowest body is 1.12, 3 cents higher. That means that this is slanted upward. Okay. So this, when it completes, shoulder, head, shoulder, pop, goes the weasel. But where is it going? I don't know. You also had a bottoming tail on this, right? On the day chart. Look at that bottoming tail. That's a strong dragonfly right there. Bought at 79. Yeah, I mean that's exactly when you that's a great play right there. That's exactly when I would have done that. If I was gonna buy in, I would have bought right here on this dragonfly. I literally would have bought right at the top of the dragon. I would have let it go down and I would have let it come back up and I would have been like, oh, that's a dragonfly. I'm gonna buy. And then look, pop, pop, pop. Technically, these are 3 white shoulders, so you're gonna have another up move on this. These are usually a very strong sign too. When you get up, up, up in a row, 3 in a row, that's usually a very good sign. SIRC. You know what's another one everyone wants to see? GameStop. You know what happened on GameStop, right? I think some popular YouTubers were. They make so. Oh, is that what the SIRC? I don't like screwing with these penny stocks. You can. There's no fun business fundamentals. Other, you know, is it profitable? That's what matters long term. In at 79, out at 120, great. But you know what happened on GameStop? This is. I'm so mad. I screwed myself out of 40 grand on this thing. Literally, when I sold this, I had 4 $3,000 calls, and I sold right here, and I should have sold up here. I'm so mad. It did exactly what I said it did. Cup, handle, pop, right? You know what this is? This is a long-legged doji. Do you know what this represents? So there were some popular YouTubers that were saying GameStop's a buy. This is when they all got out. This is a lot of shares were traded, right? Like millions of dollars worth of shares were sold right here. Then a bunch of idiots stepped in and bought them all back up. I at this point I can't in good conscience endorse GameStop. It's too much risk at this point. Although my brother did say that it's going to 10,000, which is if you get on Wall Street bets, that's what all those guys are saying, right? It's GameStop 5,000. The large caps are where it's at. They're very stable. They're very dependable. The patterns are, you know what I mean? The reason the patterns work better on big blue chips is because there's so much volume. There's too much pattern breakdown, in my opinion, on the penny stocks. Like Clear is a prime example. this thing has been, you know, Zach and I were playing this. We definitely bought the pop and we made all that money, but then every time this thing dips, I mean, look at these dips. You're talking from $4.24 down to $3.25, all the way back up. Psychologically, that hurts. That's a very painful. Psychologically, that's a very difficult thing to hold on to a stock when it loses 30% of its value in a single day. Which you were rewarded if you did, and this thing popped again today. Again, though, it's still forming in this ascending triangle. I like these are my favorite types of triangles. I think these are the strongest, ascending. Why? Because you have basically these things are bouncing against this buy pressure, right? Well, this buy pressure bouncing against this hardcore line, and what you want to see is this, just all this pushing this price action up against this, and this getting narrower and narrower, which means more and more people are convinced that this is worth more. And then, in my opinion, an ascending I think there's a lot of misinformation on triangles out there, and ascendings are the best for sure. Let's talk about stocks. Cool. Well, that was fast. I think we pretty much went over everything, unless anyone's got anything else. Look at gold. You want to do gold? Has gold not just fallen off a cliff yet? Like, Bitcoin has assassinated gold, in my opinion. Gold would have been a good short, right? Because I said that this thing was going to happen. I think I was mapping this thing out around here or here, and I was like, dude, this looks so ugly right now. Because Bitcoin, right? Why buy gold when you have Bitcoin? I can't think of a reason. I can't think of a reason to buy gold ever. What about oil? Man, I'm getting tired. I gotta go to bed soon. Didn't oil just pop recently? Remember that? 08. We'll never have another 08, unfortunately. Well, we might, but was the time. That was the time to invest. Was 08. I remember when this happened. We're just freaking out. 08 was the time. I remember back then. That's what we were talking about. Ted today was talking about selling those calls or selling puts to acquire shares. Back after 08, you could get Bank of America. Here, let's look at this. You want to know how crazy this was after 08? What's Bank of America's symbol? Back. Okay. Baby got back. All right. Where's the 08? Here it is. Right. Okay. That's what I thought. So right after 08, during this time, I remember right around here after the crash, after it started to rebound a little bit, it was around $8 or $9 a share. You literally could sell a put for $4, okay, and get these things for 50% off. That's how much volatility was baked into these options. It was insane. It was unreal. I've never seen anything like that then and since in terms of options pricing. But Bank of America's looking good. Cup. What does this look like? It's a sloppy one, right? Cup, handle, pop. Right? All right. Well, I think that was a good stream. That was a good stream to start off. You guys got any more questions? I'm gonna go to bed. I'm tired. It's been a long week. Oh, let's look at Vissel real quick. Easy bought some of this today. Look at this cup. Look at this thing. This is unreal. This thing's going higher. This thing's going a lot higher, I think. Look at this cup. Cup. Oh, you'll see the handle complete around here, and then, I mean, look, earnings, right? Right as this handle is set here. Extend this to the right. Right as this handle is set to complete, it's going to be earnings, right? I think the reason this thing has formed this giant cup and handle is because a lot of smart money, especially right around here, you see this volume right here. I think they know what these earnings. I think this is a good play. Brady Atlas, this guy was reading his Twitter. He knows what he's doing. He is a technical trader in the same vein as me. He knows volume profile theory. He probably learned from Shadow Trader, Peter Resnicek. I don't think I know too many people that know volume profile theory aside from Peter Resnicek, who is kind of the master of it. Yeah, this Vissel, I mean, look at this thing, John. This is insane, man. This is a setup right here. It's like, dude, you know, in technical charting, cups, you really want a rounded cup. The rounder the cup, the better. And I mean, even my brother was like, dude, this thing's taken 6 months to form. And I'm like, that means that the move up on this is going to be huge. It's not going to go to 8 or 9. It's going to go to like 12. Like, look, it'll break 9.3. It'll break this. And the next level up is like probably $15 a share. So you're looking at something like this has the potential to go 5 times what it's at right now in a really quick amount. Yeah, Brady, Brady knows every bit as much as I know. He knows what I know. He knows the same theory. Like the fact that I saw him using a volume profile, and I only know a handful of people that know volume profile theory, which means he probably learned it from the same person I learned it from, Peter Resnicek. This thing's going to the moon, I think. Is there an options market on this? There is. And it's got huge open interest. Oh, dude, I'm going to buy it. I'm buying calls on this thing. Look at these. $50. Buy 1,000 calls on this. Well, you guys want to see a risk profile? Let's do that. This is what I like to do sometimes. Let's say we buy 1,000 calls. No, not 1,000. Let's say we buy 100. 100 calls at 50 a piece is what? $5,000. Let's say you put $5,000 into this trade, and it goes. All right, and it goes to. Oh my God! Look at this thing. Let's say this thing you put 5,000 into this trade, and it goes to. Let's say it goes to 9. You make $50,000. If it goes to 15, you make $110,000. You say it's risky. You're saying it's risky, but look at this cup, man. What is that telling you? Cup is nuts. Look at this thing. And the other thing to really draw your attention to, John, is look at this. You've got 60 million traded. You've got 40 million traded, so 100 and 100. You got 150 million shares bought right here at 3. So what's the math on that? I mean, you don't even need to know. You've got 150 million shares bought at 3 a share. You've literally got $500 million that flooded in the market cap on this thing. This thing's market cap increased by $500 million. Really, really short time ago, about a month ago. You put $5,000 into this and you make 50 or 100. I mean, what's the time frame on this? 35 days. You want to buy. This is one you would hold into the options, right? It's a 5,000. I mean. Look at I'm looking at this cup is really what's blowing this cup is blowing my mind here. Even if it just went up to 8 or 9, right? 9. What if it went to 8? $32,000. I think I'm gonna make a play on this. I've got 1,000 shares right now, but I might when's the earnings? 331. So you could get, what's the shortest term you could get? By these, right? You want to be safe by the 2.5s. That's a lot of open interest, dude. Let's look at the 7.5s. If you want to be, look, these are only 3,000. Buy 100 of these and see what happens. I might put 3 grand in this. I'm gonna put 3 grand in this. I've already got 3 grand in this. I'm gonna, instead of the 1,000 shares I own, I'm gonna buy 100 call options on this. I'm gonna get 10,000, the equivalency of 10,000 shares. Here you go. So let's say you put 3,000 into this and it goes to 8. You make $26,000 and you've got a chart set up. Apparently, I'll do some diligence on this. I've heard through the grapevine through some people that have done due diligence on this that this is a, what's Seeking Alpha say? I want to see what the buzz is. There's no analysis on that. Huh. The odd. Got 15.34% short interest. Oh man. $3,000. Like, you're not gonna lose all of that, right? Well, you would if you bought the options, you would. If it didn't go there, you would lose all of it. You could buy, I mean, honestly, you could probably buy them now. And look, let's say you buy these now at 50. All right, because this is what's gonna happen. This thing's gonna go back to 5 before it even completes, right? Rumor is they have a deal with Amazon. I don't know about that. Those are the, yeah. You know who else had an Amazon rumor? That one Joey liked, UAVS, was it? Yeah. These guys also had a rumor of a deal with Amazon, and look what happened to that rumor. They went as high as 17. They fell off a cliff when that rumor turned out to not. I'm gonna look into them. You seriously could buy now though, and it's safe because look, that's your trend line, right? It's probably gonna go to 5 before the earnings. It'll go all the way back up to 419. 5. Let's see what happens if it just goes to 5. Got out before earnings, which is the safe play, right? So buy 100 of these for 5,000. Get out at 5. Look, you make $10,000. You make $8,000. That's a good trade. Good trade. Good trade. That's a safe trade, right? That's an $8,000 safe trade. I don't know. That's a good setup too. Look at this thing. This thing's about to break out right here. Pop, and it's gonna pop up to here 4-2. I was all excited to make a grand on this. Now I'm like, man, I didn't realize it had the options. I'm gonna look into it. I'm gonna see what the expectations are for this earning. It might be good. It might be good. I just usually don't see cups like this, you know? This is a textbook cup. You've even got this huge spike up, right? Look at this. 9 cents, negative 9 cents. It went up to $9 on negative 9 cents. And this, because this option market's so beefy, you would be able to close these out pretty easily for 100 of them. It's a good. I think this is a play right here. It goes to 10. $56,000. Can you imagine if you woke up that day and you were holding these overnight? You woke up and this thing was at 10. You'd be like, I wouldn't go to work for a month. I tell you that. I'd take a nice vacation. $5,000, just like that. Could have been me this week if I had held those GameStop options. All right, I'm going to bed. This was fun. We'll do this again, okay, guys? Laters.